So hi everyone. My name is Yoshiko Tsuaki. So I'm delighted to join this session as a not panelist, the moderator to learn more about the global situation in this industry. So during the pandemic, when the people suddenly had more time at home, many started watching, listening to, and exploring the new content that they had never consumed before. And this led to a major expansion of global audiences, and the Japanese content gained wider recognition than ever. So the platforms such as Netflix or of course, the Spotify have played a significant role in this trend, while social media has transformed the fandom culture and the consumer behavior. And simultaneous global releases of contents and merchandise have become the norm. So today, with three distinguished panelists, we will explore the potential and the challenges of the Japanese content and discuss what strategies are needed to strengthen its global presence. So first question is, why is Japanese content going global attention, gaining the global attention now? So let's begin by hearing from each of you, from your own perspective and organization, how do you see the growing international attention toward the Japanese pop culture and entertainment? Please share your thoughts along with a short self-introduction. So Akiyama-san, please.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be part of this incredible panel. My name is Yuko Akiyama. I currently serve as executive advisor of global branding at Sanrio. I am working with the Sanrio for the last 2 years. Before that, I was working at Google with Tony. So I do have a perspective of both kind of West and Japan. So to your questions, what I see is that there is a significant interest in Japanese culture as a whole. So with a lot of war happening, a lot of complexity happening, people are really turning to more comfort and order and kindness and friendship. From Sanrio perspective, the founding philosophy is minna nakayoku, everyone getting together. And there's a very deep wish to make the world peace. And whenever we talk to our partner in the United States, or subsidiary talk about how Sanrio characters embody friendship and kindness. And during the COVID, there's a trend of becoming more vulnerable and kind of social atmosphere where people can talk about mental wellness more. So people became more drawn to something softer, gentler, and talk about what's really comforting for people. And when I talk to my friends in the US, they talk about how like Sanrio's philosophy and how the characters really embodies in friendship and respect resonate with the culture. So it's one of many reasons why people are interested in Japanese content, but that's how I see it.
Interesting, thank you. So the Elson-san.
Okay, hello, I'm Tony. So I do not have as thoughtful and deep an answer as my distinguished colleague, former Google colleague, Akiyama-san, but I'll give it a try. I think, you specifically named, of course, Spotify and Netflix, but you could also, of course, include YouTube. I think we don't talk about YouTube as much because at this stage people think of YouTube like it's like electricity or plumbing. It's just a utility, right? Everybody uses YouTube all the time. But the point is that consumption during the pandemic increased, and as a result, use of multiple digital platforms increased. And so what's the difference between digital and analog? Well, it's basically the elimination of the middleman and openness of distribution, right? So all of a sudden, all the content in the world, from anywhere in the world, is available everywhere in the world as long as you have a smartphone. That's a very, very different world from a world where maybe only 1 or 2 websites on your computer give you content, or when you have to see movies only at the movie theater, or you can only buy CDs at the record store, et cetera, right? So if you like, media until 2010, 2015 was very much, there are middlemen involved who decide what the consumer can see. Those middlemen are governments, those middlemen are buyers, those middlemen are programmers. But in an open distribution world afforded by digital platforms, you can see anything you want. You can listen to anything you want. And in a world like that, quality tends to bubble to the top. And personal choices tend to be rewarded. And, so I think that, especially for those of us who live in Japan, we believe in the quality of Japanese everything, not just entertainment. A lot of Japanese things are pretty high quality. But until, in the entertainment realm, until, call it, the pandemic, a lot of people just weren't aware of any of this entertainment. And surprise, surprise, people find things they didn't know about before. They like them. They're high quality, and so the market grows. I think that's one thing that happened in call it the early 2020s.
All right, thank you. So the digital platform is one of the topic that I want to talk later in depth. So the Nakatake-san, could you share your thoughts, and also maybe you can share about the macro level impact of the, for example, the export
Sure.
impact as
Ohayou gozaimasu. Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. And I'm Nobu Nakatake, working for Sony Music Entertainment Japan. And the Sony Music has the music on the company name, but not only looking after the music, but covering all 360 the entertainment sector. So when it comes to entertainment IP, it consists of three main sectors as a gaming, music, and movie, including the anime. And Tony-san said that definitely one of the biggest reasons that Japanese IP is prevailing in the world is digital distribution, cut off the middleman. And up until early 2000, in music, the record label has been a gatekeeper and rights owner. So we could control all the information, all the sources, and also can create the movement or booming. But also, when it comes to exploring the global market, the toughest challenge was finding the global partner in terms of releasing the content, Japanese content outside of Japan. We had to find the local labels or global label partners to make it available in the world. And the gaming as well. But now the digital distribution significantly changed the scheme and the business model and distribution supply chain at all. Now even the one individual create the music in the bedroom and can release through the digital platform. That's a significant change. And also the media relationship, the mass media, what I mean, it's they are the biggest controller as well as the influencer in terms of breaking the content, introducing the content, the artists and the creators in the world. But now, way more role shifted to the social media, and the individuals can speak up on an internet space. That's the biggest one things. And for the Japanese entertainment content business, from the macro, the economy, the level, I'd like to introduce a number. I put down the key numbers. So now total export value of Japanese IP, including the gaming and the movie, which is 38 billion US dollar, which is more than the one of semiconductor and a steel export from Japan. And now the industry collectively working with the METI, Ministry of Economy, Industry and Trade, and the Keidanren and JETRO to make it triple in 8 years, which is a pretty ambitious the target, but we believe that we can make it true. So that's the new phase. Maybe I should say that the first time for Japanese entertainment business to work with the government and affiliated the party of the government. So.
All right, thank you. I should have introduced that number as a government official, but thank you so much, Nakatake-san. But the awareness of the wellness and the rise of the digital middleman, those affected a lot for in terms of the situation of this industry. So that gives us a perfect foundation for today's discussion. So now let's go a little deeper into how audiences and fans differs around the world. So Akiyama-san, actually, when I spoke with your colleague in the US, I was fascinated to learn that the storytelling are so important for the building and then the sustaining fan community abroad. That is a little bit different from those of Japan. So other than that, what are the key differences you've observed between Japanese and global audiences? And what do you see as a secret behind creating and sustaining globally loved characters like Hello Kitty?
Thank you. We've done a little study ahead. In Japan, so we, as a Sanrio, we have a very popular character, Hello Kitty. And I'm currently working on defining what is the value of Sanrio characters, because everyone knew about it, people talk about it, but it was never articulated in a global sense. And one thing is about the flexibility, that it doesn't have a story. Because Hello Kitty was born as a part of the design on Little Porch in 1974. And because it doesn't have a story, it allows a lot of collaborations. And because it doesn't have a story, it's really close to your feeling. So when you're sad or when you're happy, one reason Hello Kitty doesn't have a mouth is because it can reflect any feeling you have. So we value that, that not having the story is actually strength and why Sanrio characters are being loved for so many years and in different regions and countries. However, as we go into North America, as Tsuaki-san said, we were told that we need more story. So that is the reason why we are investing in YouTube anime series. But it's really lighthearted. It's about friendship and what happens in your daily lives. It doesn't refine the idea of strong women hero, for example. It's really about something that people can relate to. So we need to add story to engage with our audience in North America, but we have to do it in the right balance. And you mentioned about why Sanrio characters are beloved. So one is about the flexibility and its openness. The another is it's really multi-generational. It's not really targeted for specific generations. And when it comes to IP character, it's really important that it's loved by multi-generation. So the parents will have a different memory of Hello Kitty, and then when they grow up, they will buy the goods for their children as well. So being really multi-generational, how do we create that is really critical for nurturing global IP.
Thank you. Interesting. So, Elson-san, in the music industry, consumer behavior differs significantly. My understanding is that the Japan still relied heavily on the physical sales, while the streaming dominant overseas. So how do you see, how do you view these differences, and how is the Spotify and you helping the Japanese music reach more global listeners?
Okay. I love this question because, and the reason I love this question is, I think to some extent, but not as much as a lot of people believe, yes, the Japanese CD market continues to be strong because Japanese consumers, for some reason, just like to have things, right? Like, but this is the conventional explanation for this. Why does Japan still have such a strong CD market? It's because Japanese people, they like to have tactile objects. It's like, yeah, but. So I think there's a little history lesson here first, which is that regardless of whether Japanese people like objects more than people of other countries, I do think it's pretty true that Japanese people like to follow rules more than people in other countries. And piracy in the music industry did not happen here the way it happened in the rest of the world. So if you go back 15 years or so, right, when Napster and Kazaa just suddenly went through the music industry of the early 2000s, and everybody around the world just started ripping CDs and sharing music on the internet, Japan didn't. Japan kept buying CDs because there was a public perception that this is bad behavior. Of course, there was a group of people who did. It just wasn't as big. And as a result, all around the world, people started developing internet-based listening habits. But the internet-based listening habits didn't ever really take root in Japan, at least not as quickly. And so that is one reason why people continued to buy CDs, even as around the rest of the world, streaming platforms, iTunes downloads, and most importantly, YouTube really began to spread, and people found digital substitutes. Now, there's another reason why CDs are big in Japan, and that's because people do love to have souvenirs and contribute money directly to their favorite artists, right? This is the fandom and the Oshi phenomenon, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. But, you know, I talk to my colleagues at Spotify, and I talk about how Japanese fans spend so much money on CDs and so much money on concerts and so much money on merch and so on, and they all roll their eyes and they say, Tony, we have super fans everywhere. And I say, I know, but there are more of them here, right? And it's kind of the same with demographically speaking, too. Tony, every country has people over 50, but there are more of them here, right? And so these demographic differences, the historical differences, and some of these cultural differences all add up to that kind of imbalance in the market. But I think that, but you know, today, 2025, I don't think that CDs and streaming are substitutional at all. I think if you go to a CD store and you see who's buying the CDs, it's all people who are listening to Spotify, listening to Apple Music. The streaming is helping them create loyalties and create demand for their purchases. Yes, there's probably, and yes, music streaming is still not at the level it is in the rest of the world, but frankly, a lot of those people are not just getting their music through CDs, they're getting it through YouTube.
What about the K-pop? Because I think for them the merchandise is also the key. Sources for the money. So.
Yeah. So I could go into the K and J history lesson as well. I don't know if anybody wants to listen to me talk about that, but but certainly what the this is a business model which has existed in Japan for a long time as well. Is this idea that pop stars aren't just recording artists. They are 360-degree talent. They appear on TV shows. They sell merchandise. They sell fan club memberships. And so the revenue, it's a multi-revenue model. And the person sitting to my left, your right, knows a lot more about this than I do. So I'm going to pass it over him.
Good pass. I expected that too. All right. So recently, internationally, the industry people are talking a lot about these power words, superfan business, right, and fandom. So as Tony-san said that, all right, it's nothing new for us at all, because in the Japanese industry, the music, manga, anime, it's all about superfan business. So putting the casual listeners, casual leaders in the funnel from the casual leaders, casual listeners to the listeners, listener to the fan, and the fan to the super fan. It's an upsell process, right? Not just them make them consume the content, but invite to the real experiencing entertainment like concert, exhibition. Thank you. And the offering the merchandising and monetizing fan club. That's nothing new for us, but particularly the China, Tencent and the NetEase Cloud Music. Now the big driver of their sales is Superfan tier, which is 5 times higher price setting of regular monthly subscriptions, offering the content windowings, allowing the Superfan tier, the subscribers, to get access to the content like a single or the album a month earlier, early releases, and also they're given the privilege of buying the concert ticket earlier than the regular customers and exclusive content. So that isn't super popular in driving their business. 5 years ago, I remember that, early 2000, just the pandemic, the period started. I visited the China with my colleague and spoke with one of the DSP in China, and we presented the Superfan business model with the mobile fan app basis. So recurring models, $3, $4 per month on the mobile app, and offering the exclusive content and also the e-commerce to the exclusive merchandise to them. And they said that, no, it doesn't work in China. The Chinese, the fans, listeners are way more casual. They don't buy the merch. But 5 years later now, it's a big driver. So the business model changes and the consumer behavior changes as well. So
can I just say, it's like this whole thing, like, oh, Japan's behind. It's like, maybe it's actually ahead. There's so many times when these consumer habits of, right, like, oh, so the CD is dead, right? Like physical is dead. But turns out that these products, they're high margin, high price products, actually begin to really show value when they begin to show value as the market begins to evolve over time. Yeah. So, you can't just throw Japan out as being this kind of primitive market, right? There's actually a lot to learn from the future.
Interesting.
So, so why we can run the Superfan business here back from 60s, 70s, because we were good at making a connection with the fans. As Tony said, that the artist is not as the artist, not as the performer, but the one that the fun to communicate with, right, or to resonate with. So the Japanese artist management system, record label system, and the mass media, including the TV and the radio, are so good at making that fandom. But now, what about the outside of Japan? Any Japanese artist has established the fandom or running the Superfan business outside of Japan? Pretty small. That's the big difference from a K-pop and J-pop. K-pop, they has been focusing on making fans as super fans outside of Japan. Right? Social media posting, concert, events, they fly everywhere and are making the interaction with the fans. Japanese artists just stepped out of Japanese market 5 years ago, after the pandemic. And now songs are to be heard and listened by way more people. But when it comes to building the fandom, Tony-san, you should something that you want to add, right?
I just think, like, I mean, the K-pop industry also, for 15 years has been optimizing product for global appeal, right? And so there's a huge difference between kind of 15 years of experience and optimizing for the world and 5 years or 3 years of saying, we've been making this product for domestic fans forever, and now we're going to try and export it. It's kind of like, I don't know why this analogy just occurred to me. It's like trying to sell wagashi in Nevada or something. Like anko wa amari urenai to omou yo. Just there's this kind of the K-pop industry is all about global demand optimization, and the J-pop or the Japanese music industry just hasn't got there yet, right? I'm sure, and that actually leads to all kinds of interesting things, but I don't want to suck all the oxygen out of the room, so.
So thank you. So it looks like looks like the Japan might become as kind of the creative trendsetter, but we need to change the business model drastically. So Nakataka-san, I wanted to ask about you already mentioned about the how the emergence of the new platforms or the digital platform affected for the entertainment business as a whole. So, but have you made any strategic adjustment in response as a Sony group, or do you have any examples of that?
We're not there.
I mean, for example, M&A over Crunchyroll or.
Oh yeah. So for as for the anime, we embarked on anime business back in late '80s. At that time, we never imagined that the anime content can be watched worldwide. So at that time, main platform was TV and also original anime video, OAV, sell videos at the real store. And also the anime was still at that time, some people will say that, hey, it's an content for kids or content for nerd. But now it's for Gen Z. It's one of the biggest sector of entertainment through the digital platform, including the Netflix, Hulu, and Crunchyroll. So Sony invested in Crunchyroll, and now it's under the big umbrella as a partner. But Crunchyroll, for those people who are not familiar with the Crunchyroll, it's a Netflix in anime. So.
I loved Crunchyroll,
you love
by the
Crunchyroll?
way, when I was in LA.
Oh, you was in LA. Unfortunately, it's not available here in Japan because in Japan, we have the bunch of the platforms, the video platforms, OTTs offering the anime content. So it's pretty competitive. So that's one of the reasons that the Crunchyroll is not in Japan yet. And when I had the J-pop, the presentation 4 years ago. Which I introduced the many cases that nowadays way more Japanese the song is listened by anime fans. Anime fan doesn't mean that the nerd, but it's all kids. And most of the industry executives, the Sony executives, are not really familiar with that name, but those young people working at the Sony Music and in New York who has kids, 3 years, tweens or teens, they are so familiar with the anime titles because Crunchyroll. So the platform can change the listeners and the viewers' behavior, and also that helps a lot in an important role to introduce the Japanese content. So that's one of the biggest new initiatives that we had, and it's not just for Sony, but it's for all the anime content and the J-pop big driver.
Thank you. Interesting. So now let's move on to the about the how collaboration across the different industry and the media can amplify impact. So. Especially the Akiyama-san, Sanrio has such a long history of a creative collaboration. So could you share a few memorable ones that you have?
Oh, are you talking about the brand collaborations?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot, and I mean, we use Spotify too. And the ability to collaborate with the different brands, like sometimes Gundam or Chikawa, and people ask me, "Oh, who is your competitor?" We do not have a competitor. The founder said we win together because we make everyone is everyone is his friend. So that's the philosophy. So when we engage in a collaboration, so that's the spirit that we want to work with everyone, and that help us to rejuvenate the brand. So Hello Kitty, it was created in 1974, but people still, like high schoolers or little kids, everyone has it. That is because we kept changing the design and also kept working with the different corporations and brands. But we are going to set some standard, such as violence. We don't work with contents with a violence in it, and also we really make sure that because the kids still love Sanrio characters, make sure that we are protecting them from pornography and any kind of child abuse. So that's the most important part. But then we work with everyone, and then there's no competition.
Is there any other criteria to decide that the partnership or align or doesn't align with your philosophy?
We don't judge people, so we are very open, but we don't work with specific political party or specific religion. So that's the bottom line, but we are quite open. And just to add on the culture, because we are very true to Sanrio characters, very true to Japanese culture of being polite and respectful to the others. And people ask, how do you want to keep the Japanese-ness of the culture? And it's a kind of a vice versa. Like we do retain all Japanese-ness, but at the same time, people don't know that it is Japanese. So it's a right balance. We need to strike the right balance between the Japanese-ness and global and almost like Japanese-ness, but at the same time, we have to be very careful about the culture. For example, the co-sleeping. So Cinnamoroll is our number one character, but when we talk about SNS, I want to sleep with my brother. And sometimes people feel offended by the co-sleeping the habit. So we have to be more careful. As the Japanese culture is brought abroad, we have to be more aware of what's not, seen as appropriate outside.
Right, thank you. So the Nakatake-san bringing together music, anime, the live performance, the merchandise. So what kind of cross-content strategies have proven most effective?
One of the initiatives that we're running in last 10 years as a Sony, as making the gaming IP into the concert and other and the movie as well. The movie might be an obvious one there. So creating IP consumes a lot of effort, blood, sweat, and tears, and the money. So not just using for gaming or one sector, but bringing to the sector in movie and in music. That's the recent initiatives that we're running aggressively. Also, when it comes to collaboration with the one creator with another creators, Tony-san may agree with that, but I'd say that it should be natural and artist-driven. It should be artist-driven, not for marketing reason at all. Because back in those eras that the label can control and the media can control as the gatekeeper and providing the audio information, we could craft, we could stage up. But now the important factor is how we can resonate with the listeners and the fans. And when it comes to collaboration, it should have the right narratives, right story. Why this artist work with this producer, these creators, and listeners knows it. So I've been encouraging the signing artists because then those artists coming to the labels, hey, your label. So can you hook me up with then this, American artist, the superstars? We are label mate. You can connect us. Hey, you should go his or her ex and send a DM. That's important things. The Japanese artists, in the future, from now on, they need to communicate with the global artist in whatever the language would be, but creator to creator with the same language, not English or the Japanese or Chinese. Language means the words can resonate with the artist and the artist. That's very important. And dive into the artist community. Japanese artists, I'm hoping more Japanese artists dive into the global artist community, making connection and making a good collaboration. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I was listening to. Can you build on that from the
this is when he
Spotify
throws it
side?
back to me, right? Yeah, so, I couldn't agree more, right? There's a word which gets overused a lot to the point it loses its meaning, but authenticity is super important, right? And I think that, I was talking earlier about how, in broad strokes here, right? There are exceptions, but if you were to just generalize, a lot of the big K-pop acts are, quote, made for export, and J-pop or Japanese artists haven't really reached that phase yet. I think actually what we're seeing right now with Japanese music overseas is that it's actually in this kind of organic phase of authentic collaborations. And so there are no huge superstar Japanese global acts yet. There are popular Japanese overseas acts, but there is no BTS, there is no Blackpink, and maybe that's because the artists and the labels haven't actually crafted, the grand global takeover superstar yet, optimized for America and the UK and Brazil, but instead the artists themselves are kind of figuring out where to go on their own and then letting the audience decide. So I have a really specific example in mind. There are a lot of others, but there's a very popular American hip-hop artist, sorry, different label, Megan Thee Stallion, and she collaborated with a Japanese rapper, Yuki Chiba, and this was something which the label did not arrange. They just kind of found each other, and Yuki Chiba's streams on Spotify just skyrocketed as a result of the collaboration. And Megan Thee Stallion, if you followed her X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, she makes no secret of her love for anime. So it's kind of like, I think there's this phase where clearly the artists outside of Japan have a lot of interest in Japanese culture, maybe they're not directly interested in Japanese music per se yet, but they are interested in anime, they are interested in food, they're interested in visiting, and then you take that curiosity.
And Hello Kitty.
Yeah, absolutely, and Hello Kitty, and you take that interest and it leads into these organic collaborations. Just one last point on that, which I feel like is relevant to share when we think about the journey of Japanese content overseas, and specifically in music, is that the music that, again, and the inevitable K-pop comparison is that the music that tops the charts in Korea and outside Korea by Korean artists tends to be the same artists. The music that tops the charts in Japan and outside Japan for Japanese artists is completely different. And the number 2 most listened artist outside of Japan on Spotify last year wasn't an artist at all. It was the music department for a video game, right? It was the Atlas Sound team, right? Who are a group of employees of the Atlas Corporation who made the music to this game, to this very popular video game. And what is this? And this great, so you have this incredible diversity of Japanese music going out into the world, and it's not, you know, just one big act that's kind of been created on the basis of market research to dominate the charts. I just think that's a really, really interesting, almost stereotypical representation of what makes Japan great. If you go back to the morning session about be authentic, continue to focus on what you do. It's almost a craftsmanship kind of approach. And actually, that reminds me of what you were saying about how the characters developed in Sanrio. So if I didn't have to pay for it, I'd just drop the mic now.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so thank you so much. It's such a rich reflection. So we've covered Japan's strengths and the challenges and also the future possibility from the multiple perspective. So before moving on to the Q&A session, I'd like to ask each of you to share one final thought or message to everyone here in the audience about the future of Japan's pop culture and entertainment industry. So the Akiyama-san, please.
Yes. So I'm kind of repeating myself, but when I did the research regarding K-pop and also Japanese culture, more than 70 or 80% of U.S. kids said they love anime and Japanese characters, and the K-pop was really high, but it was higher than K-pop. But I don't think we have capitalized on it yet. So I'm still very curious to learn more about how can we do that. But at the same time, it's not really about creating the big artists, but it's really releasing different kind of creativity. So that could be a next, interesting path for Japan. And I personally have a 9-year-old son, and when I think about the future of Japan, having strong IP contents will help him feel confident and hopeful, and also proud of his culture. So I think as a mother, I think it's really important that we keep investing in Japanese contents for our future generation.
Thank you. So Edison-san, please.
So as a kid who grew up in the American Midwest with a Japanese mother in the 70s, anime was not popular then, and I did feel like a nerd. So, and raw fish was disgusting. So in that sense, I think the world has come a long way. I think the world is embracing Japanese culture. I do think it's good for the young generation of Japanese that Japanese culture is becoming more and more widely accepted. And I think, to have a somewhat, operational, maybe boring conclusion to my statement, and just because you have digital platforms that distribute your content, it doesn't mean it's automatically going to become a hit, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to put my video on YouTube and I'll suddenly get millions and millions, and I'll suddenly be famous. No, that's not the way it works, right? The way it works is you now have this distribution network which allows you to see what's happening and where and how your content is being consumed. And so you need that expertise to be able to say, oh, wait a second, my songs are being listened to in, Seattle, and so that's where I'll go on tour next, or that's where I'll place my next search ads. And my point is really about what we can learn from Korea without a doubt is optimization of product and marketing and leveraging those digital platforms. And I feel like that's where the Japanese government can certainly help. If only by pointing these things out and promoting the skills that are needed among younger people to contribute to that effort, right? You need marketing, and you've got the distribution now. Next, you need the marketing.
Thank you. So lastly, Nakatake-san, please.
Yep, time is running, so I want to make it as short as possible. I'm not expecting that big J-pop or J-culture sensation or movement at all. I'm not expecting the J-pop culture and sensation and the movement as a successful case for us, different from the K-pop. And the Japanese culture, the lovers and then the listeners is more fragmented. and granularized, and smaller audience, but deeper experience, the deeper affinity to Japanese culture. That's the model that I'm expecting. And so, the communication, resonation, and interaction, that's very important things. And different success model, that's what I believe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the inspiring messages that beautifully capture the essence of today's session. So let's jump into the Q&A session. Is there anyone have a question? Okay, you can go ahead.
So good morning. I'm from. Sorry. Hello. Good morning. I'm Zara from the Philippines. I am a full-time student in GLOBIS University. I'd like to ask, following our G1 discussion on empowering immigrants in Japan, I'd like to explore the practical side of this. So from my own experience, I know that it's difficult for foreigners to get a job in Japan. So from your industry perspective, do you see immigrant professionals as a strategic necessity for sustaining growth in your companies? Or if so, what are the key qualities that you prioritize when hiring them? Thank you. Sorry for the Japanese. I'm speaking for the immigrants, for all of them. Thank you.
All of them. Okay, so let's start. Three questions. All right. We're going to have some first question. Okay, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much. So I'm Yi Ren. So I was born in China in 80s and grew up in Japan and now in United States. My question for you is first, so as one fan, I don't think Japanese animation impact is become bigger because it's much bigger in the past. And my gut feeling is become smaller. But it's realized by the revenue in recent times because of the performers. But how do you think about that? So that's the first question. Second one is, if it's true or if it's false, then do you think Japanese IP power in the future can be
Time
kept?
is running out. Okay.
Or
Only
not?
one question. Okay. Is there any other person who have a question? You want to do that?
I have a question, Tony. You mentioned that K-pop has successfully optimized and changed the business model to the world. I think in case of Japan, let's say anime, manga, and food and character have not changed the business model to going out, and they found Japan, and they found it so interesting. Do you think that could do the same for music? That J-pop will be the same as J-pop, and they will find us, and they will start liking us, like Fujikaze and Yoasobi, and that's happening right now.
Okay, let's start with the answer from Ellison-san.
Yeah, so I have a very simple answer. Yes, yes. I think we're already seeing it. I think that over the next 5 years, I'm sure that the Japanese record labels and management will try and quote create the Japanese BTS, and they may be successful. Might be. I don't know. But what I certainly do know is, the model is that as Japanese labels, artists, the whole ecosystem gets better and better at leveraging the digital tools to promote their to quote Nakatake-san, to turn listeners into fans into super fans, right, and expand that demand all around the world. I think that you'll see a very kind of, very diverse set of artists all around the world, seeing maybe not being chart topping every single country, but maybe one artist tops the charts in one country, maybe one artist is top 5 in 5 others, right? But this idea of very diverse but loyal and deep success cases, I think that's what we're going to see out of Japan. Absolutely.
All right. So the Nakatake-san, can you answer for the 2 questions?
Okay, so the first question from you, thank you very much for asking this. We don't care who he is or she is, right? As far as having the proper work permission and also communication skill in Japanese language. Japanese language, we definitely need that because you have to deal with the local people here. And also the plus, we are looking for the person not speaking English fluently or don't mean that, knowing the American business scenes or the Asian business scenes whatsoever. If you have that, that's great. But what we need is the passion to not bringing the international things into Japan, but exporting our IPs and the big love to Japan and a big love to the Japanese content, want to introduce our own distinct content internationally. That's the all. So don't matter.
Okay, great. So Akiyama-san, do you have any answers for the question?
Yeah, I think coming from global company to Japanese company, I think language barrier it's still big. So I think we as a company we need to change as well. Like how do we make our communication more bilingual? But it's gonna take time. So if you're looking for a job right now, I think the language is very important. And also respecting because we handle Japanese IP, we do appreciate overseas input at the same time because people do require authenticity. So how do you listen and respect that the culture and some of the passion that people put into?
Okay, so yeah.
So can you say that again, please? So we used to have way bigger the anime, the audience.
Yeah, so it's my feeling, but I want to understand your opinion.
So do you think that
Do you think the fan base became really bigger, or just be realized by the revenue in the platform?
you mean
What was that Japanese animation or IPs?
Well, anime fans we have more the Japanese anime fans and the audience. Oh, definitely. We're getting the bigger and bigger the audiences. And it's now, I would say that they are not just loving the anime content. They're just the audience. They're just the viewers. And now step into the anime, but they are watching the movies. So, anime fan, that's a pretty tricky word. Even in Japanese market, I don't think that there's anime fans. Anime fans is segmented in a various ways. So it's pretty risky to just say, well, I did say that though, but just, introducing with the words anime fan, that's pretty tricky. And also the anime, the industry, in terms of numbers of releases, it's getting more competitive. Way more the anime behind the big the success like Demon Slayer or K-pop Demon Hunters. There's so many other titles didn't go well, went in red. So as the total market size of the anime, it's getting bigger and bigger, and we are gravitating more the people. But when it comes to the core anime fans, they're not just core. That's my impression.
I like to think about anime like video games 25 years ago, right? Like 25 years ago, 30 years ago, video games were for Japanese people and kids, right? And that's the way the world outside Japan thinks about anime right now. It's not for nerds anymore. It's for all kids and Japanese people. Guess what? In 20 years, everybody is watching anime. Some people watch more than others. Some people spend more money than others. But it's not a niche. It's just, oh, do you watch movies? Yeah. Do you watch anime? Yeah. So, growth stock.
Thank you. Actually, I conducted the research in the United States when I was in LA the last year, and then it looks like the number of the soft fans of the anime are growing rapidly. Actually, yeah, and that's mean like difficult to deal with those fans. It's so different. Their interest is so different. So, but definitely the number of those fans are increasing. Okay, it looks like we have 5 minutes left. So is there any other additional question on the audience? All right.
I'm curious, what's your observation around and challenge around the workplace in creative industries? So typically low-paid and overworking animators. With the emergence of AI, it feels like it's escalating as well. So are we witnessing some improvement? Or how can we improve more?
That's quite an important question. Actually, I wanted to ask that question for you guys.
That's a very important part. And broadly saying that the anime creator, not creators, those workers at the anime studios have to deal with the lower payroll, but it's improving now. As far as the Sony Music concerns, we have a Cloverworks as the anime studio and the Aniplex, and the workforce is very important, and particularly the younger people that are working for the industry, and those younger students that want to work for the anime industry. That's very important. So the improvement of the payroll and the condition, that's very crucial things. Another thing is that the technology can help. And for coloring or the detailed, particularly the coloring of the anime production, that's now shifting from the human hands to the AI-powered tools, and that's one of the things that Sony Corp is putting a lot of the effort to create and build the anime production, the coloring, particularly the system. So that should be the key part. It's a good question. Thank you.
Elson-san, do you think anything to add on that as a Spotify's aspect?
If I say what I have, if I say what I'm thinking about the Japanese creative industry and its labor conditions, I will take the rest of the session. So I'm not really qualified because I'm not in the creative part of the business anyway.
Right. Okay, the Akiyama-san.
Yeah, as for the workplace for Sanrio, because we have to check a lot of designs for the licensing partner, so it is a challenge. And then we are thinking about using AI to make sure if there are any mistakes. Using AI for production is very problematic, and we have to spend a lot of time thinking about it, because at the end of the day, contents and IP, who was the creator, who has the rights, is a very tricky question. But the AI can help make it more productive, that's for sure.
All right, we have only 2 minutes, so one quick question if there's any. Okay, you can go ahead.
Hi, thank you for your time today. I lead M&A efforts at a K-pop company, and just given that K-pop it's been a big theme today. You talked about how J-pop lacks sort of the know-how that the K-pop has built over the last 15 years. Just wondering, I feel like there's a lot of collaboration between J-pop companies and sort of Hollywood or LA-based companies in music, like managers or labels, but I haven't seen a lot of collaboration between J-pop companies and companies in Korea or K-pop companies. Just wondering why that's the case, or if you think that would change in the future.
Okay, so Elson-san, can you answer for that?
Again, so I don't work at a label, but I can tell you what I see. And I mean, again, I just think it's a time lag. I just think the Japanese industry has not. It's not even a question of America versus Korea. It's just like they've been so domestically for so long that they've stayed inside, right? But I see all kinds of opportunities. I went to Fukuoka on a trip to do a market activation about, 3 weeks ago? And it's like, it's 30 minutes from Busan. And it's almost like, hey, Fukuoka artists, don't worry about going to Tokyo. Go to Busan. I actually told the mayor of Fukuoka that. It's like, this is your ecosystem, not this.
Okay.
So I think there's a lot of opportunity.
All right, interesting. We have only 40 seconds, but can you answer quickly, Nakatake-san?
Well, definitely, there's no reason that the more collaboration between the J-pop and K-pop artists, and so yeah, look forward to it.
Great. Yes. Okay, so thank you very much. So please join me in giving a big round of applause to our 3 distinguished panelists. Thank you so much.